Okay, therapist, and one ethical issue I had was when I went to visit uh, a not a married-in family member, distant family member, um, and I saw something. As a therapist, you're always on. You're not. You're a therapist whether you're working in a hospital or outside, and when you see something that goes on within friends, even in a party atmosphere like I experienced, or families and things like that, you can't do anything other than try to advocate for whoever is having some problems there without being too prying. But this, if it was nothing, I wouldn't even think about it at this present time. But it was something very significant. Um, there was a family. We were invited to go stay with them, and the children were acting in ways that were really big red flags for me. And I don't know how everybody else who was adults at this event didn't notice, and how these kids were acting. And I'm sure this was not the first evening they're acting this way. I'm sure they act like this all the time. The little girl, I think, was 7 or 8, or 9 even, and she was running around, putting on her mother's sexy clothes, but only wearing bottoms and running around with no top at all. And of course, she had no breasts. She didn't develop at all because she's not even, she's prepubescent even, and she was, that to me that was completely sexually inappropriate, and the parents didn't say anything. And then the little boy, who was I think 2 years younger, was terrified of his mother not being around, and his mother even told me about it that earlier that day before the party commenced. She was asking me, like, oh, you're a therapist, so what do you think about that? He doesn't let me. I have to be the one that takes him to school, otherwise he screams and freaks out, and I didn't know the whole story until later on that night. Things were unfolding before my eyes. The mother was an alcoholic. It was blatantly obvious because she's always drinking, and I didn't put the pieces together until that night when she got really drunk. And the husband, who was a physician, was away on business, doing a conference, and I, she, I didn't even know what was going on. I was the only one in the whole party that didn't drink to oblivion, and everybody had passed out, and a lot of people's children were all sleeping in this one room together. All the children were sleeping in this one room with a big bed together. And children are still sexual beings, and even though they're young and they don't have all their goodies growing yet, it's inappropriate to do that. And I'm seeing all these things happen, and I'm by myself, the only one awake in the whole house. And because most of these people who were there were sleeping from being drunk, or they decided to jump in the car and disappear. And I tried to get keys from them. It didn't work. Whatever, long story short, it was obvious there was a very big problem going on. And through other things that unfolded, said that this was not the first time that this happened, where the mother left with her friends and left all the children alone in the house. And I, thank God, was the only one that, when I go out to drink, go out to a party, I have one glass of wine. I don't need 100 glasses of wine. But apparently, it was that kind of party, and I felt responsible for all these children. And sure enough, one of the children woke up in the middle of the night, looking, "Where's mommy? Where's mommy?" screaming. And what I'm trying to get at is that I was really in a crossways, ethically speaking, because I didn't know what my place was. I was not. This was not blood family, although I do love them and I care about them. Uh, and but this is a big problem, that the mother is not fit. So this is grounds for calling ACS on any other normal case. But this is my distant family here, and I didn't know what to do, frankly, ethically speaking. Here, this was not good for these children. Ultimately, they ended up getting a divorce recently, And I really hope that the kids end up living with their father. And this has haunted me a long time because I talked about it with my husband, and he felt that I shouldn't say anything because it really wasn't my place. And so I spoke to his mother, and she's closer related to them. And she didn't say anything either, and she chose not to. So ultimately, I never said anything, but I did in a way because I spoke to my closest kin that were related to them, and they all agreed that it wasn't really my place. And it ends up that the husband was well aware of what was going on because I got on the phone with him that night, and let him know that everything was under control, that I was the sober, level-headed adult at the party, and I was there holding down the fort, and that he shouldn't worry, that they were all in good hands. But meanwhile, his wife was out driving drunk someplace, which scared the heck out of his daughter, who was screaming and crying and called her father, who was away. So he knew it was going on, and he was very upset about it. So I'm hoping that it was going to get resolved in one way or another. And unfortunately, it's ending up in divorce. And but I didn't know what to do. As a therapist, I would have known exactly what to do if these were not my kin, or distant kin. But since it was, I knew for a long time that I really hoped that that something would go on after that night, after I spoke to their father, and he knew what was going on, that it would get rectified so that these kids could get a chance at not being scared and not looking for the attention of their mother, in negative ways.